episode of The Whisperist. My name is Matthew, and I'm really grateful that you've decided to join me. Today we're going to be looking through this brand new book that I received. Actually, I bought it, I think, I can't remember when I bought it. I think it was when the last Amazon Prime days. I've been doing some, makeshift amateur art, and so I think I was really in an art mood. And so that's how we got him, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful book. It's called Artists, Their Lives and Works. The foreword is by Ross King. And so I just thought that it would be a really beautiful book to kind of thumb through. We certainly won't be able to go through all of it, but I don't know about you, but I love art. One of my favorite things to do when I am in a different city is to visit the local art gallery or art museum. It's just always a delight to see, new art and also famous art up close. You can certainly just engage the art in a different way when you see it up close. And so the contributors to this book include George Bray, Caroline Bugler, Nick Harris, Diana Loxley, Kirsty Seymour, Ian Zek, and Jude Welton. Now, I may not be pronouncing those names correctly, so don't hold me to it. There will likely be several names in this book that I pronounce incorrectly. And so, it's laid out in, by century. And you have the before 1500s and all the way up to 1945 to present. And I was thinking that we would skip around a little bit because there's so much to cover. This is who I was looking for. Raphael. Obviously, you are familiar with Raphael, I'm sure. But one of the giants of the Renaissance, Raphael achieved an immense amount in his short life, and for centuries afterward was revered as an inspiration by other artists. When I visited Italy, I went to a Raphael exhibit that was just fascinating. Pope Leo and all Rome look upon him as a godsend down from heaven to restore the eternal city to its former majesty. Raphael, I guess, of course, is known for his use of light. Raphael was well versed in the manners and skills needed to thrive in society. His courtly grace helped win him wealthy and influential patrons and friends. It's crazy how you can hear the birds outside. It's been difficult to record in my house lately because there has been a large amount of construction right outside my front door. And so, the birds at least offer a more, like, delightful sound as opposed to the noise that construction workers tend to make. Raphael always succeeded in doing what others longed to do. And that was a quote by Van Gogh. So, do you all have a favorite? Do you have a favorite, like, century of art? I do love the Renaissance. There's just something about the Impressionism and the light they used during that time that just sort of was otherworldly. And I'm a big fan of religious, like, interpretations in art. I think it's wild how so many European artists have, like, defined the the whiteness that we see in Christianity today in America. This idea of there being a white Jesus. Of course, Jesus wasn't white. And so it's a shame that so many artists during this time frame painted, Jesus as they saw themselves, as opposed to, subscribing to historic accuracy. And this is Hans Holbein. Holbein excelled in many fields, from painting murals and miniatures to designing prints and decorative pieces, but he is remembered mainly for his portraits, particularly Henry VII and his court. I should scarcely be able to see you better if I were with you. Aramaeus' letter to Sir Thomas More on seeing Holbein's drawing of the More family. And here's King Henry VII. I'm not going to attempt to talk about King Henry because I get my kings mixed up, especially the King Henrys. Peter Bruegel the Elder. Wow, I wonder if that's a self-portrait. The painter and the buyer. This work in brown ink is believed to be a self-portrait of Bruegel, showing the disheveled artist and patronizing buyer in gentle caricature. It was said of him that he swallowed all of the mountains and rocks and spat them out again onto his canvases and panels. That isn't interesting. That looks more American than it should. Like American art, like that American folk art that painted scenes like this. Again, I'm not an art major, so just enjoy the whisper. El Greco. El Greco was the first great personality in the history of painting in Spain. El Greco created an intensely personal, ecstatic style that expressed the religious fervor of the country. He was said to have the softest brush ever to give a soul to panel, life to canvas. We're such a photography focused culture now. It's amazing to what degree these, the people of this time, depended upon artists to create a memory for them, and so many people are not able to afford such a beautiful thing to happen. We're so spoiled in our ability to take photos of ourselves and selfies with our phones. Sorry, my dog barked, and so I had to take an edit. I had to do an edit. El Greco was an individual in everything as he was in painting. Wow. I love that Christ, I guess I'm assuming that's Christ, was painted in pink. I think that's pretty amazing. I am just fascinated by the realism in certain artists' work. Now this is less realistic. I mean, there's certainly some realistic aspects, but these like in this photo, the people are their limbs are exaggerated and their expressions are exaggerated, and their height looks like it's not exact. In my new love of doing mixed media, I was surprised to learn how many artists throughout history used more than just paint. Like, they used paper and certain other items to create their work. Okay, the 17th century. Let's go to Rembrandt, because we love Rembrandt. Rembrandt is on page 124. I'm a big fan of Rembrandt. Again, he was one of those artists that his use of light was just remarkable. as an etcher and draftsman as well as a painter. It's, it's wild how many of these artists were good painters, but they were also good at something else. During that, I guess that's where the idea of a Renaissance man or Renaissance individual comes from. But I find so much of Rembrandt's work to be, much more realistic in his expression of facial expressions, and his use of light, and he was just brilliant at capturing the human soul. But it's wild again. Everybody is white. Everybody. The ugly and plebeian face with which he was ill-favored was accompanied by untidy and dirty clothes. I'm not sure what that's referring to. This looks like, I guess this is a self-portrait. Wow. Rembrandt was the most renowned art teacher of his time. He was only 21 when he took his first apprentice, Gerard Dow, in February 1628, and his last pupil included Aert de Gelder. I'm not familiar with those individuals. When he worked, he would not have granted an audience to the first monarch in the world. I wonder why. Here are some key moments. In 1625, he was his first known dated painting, The Stoning of St. Stephen, which is influenced by Caravaggio. I'm reading that from here. He completed The Night Watch, the culminating work of the Dutch tradition of group portraits of civic militia. Jan Vermeer, another Dutch artist, famous for his careful depictions of everyday life and for calm luminosity of his uncannily realistic compositions. Vermeer is acclaimed as one of the greatest painters of Holland's golden age. Wow, that's gorgeous. And like this is the kind of painting that I don't think you can fully appreciate in pictures. I think seeing it in real up close would be a different experience because of, just look at the detail that he included in that tapestry. That's just unreal. And I love the checkered floor. this is the kind of thing, like, you know, like studying art this is the kind of thing I look at, I think about. Do you know any artist called Vermeer? This strange painter's palette consists of blue, lemon yellow, pearl gray, black, and white. On Instagram, I follow this creator who focuses on the history of color, and so when they, like, each post is about a particular color and how that color was used throughout history and how they created it, and it's a really interesting it's an interesting study, I think. Wang Hu, 1632 to 1717, Chinese, one of the great artists of the late Ming and early Qing dynasties in China. Wang Hui was celebrated for his exquisite landscape painting. He studied the masters of early periods to produce a distinctive style of his own. I must use the brush and ink of the Yuan to move the peaks and valleys of the song. Like, again, I think it's like, I don't think you can appreciate the detail in this. Another thing that, ever since phones, have you ever caught yourself, like, trying to enlarge a photo on a book as opposed to, you know, when you're using a screened device? I think it's interesting. I think that's funny. I do that quite often. Maybe I'm the only one, but I definitely do it. I love the inclusivity of this book because they don't only focus on, you know, Western world artists. There's a lot of Eastern artists as well, and I love that. Jiang Xian, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but he's Korean. Jiang Xian perfected the realistic landscape, a realistic style of landscape painting. His depictions of Korean scenes helped to free his country's art from the influence of Chinese style. Oh, that's interesting. Like, I guess that would make sense that certain countries would, you know, mimic the styles of other countries, and eventually somehow someone would come along and want to change that and rethink how that particular country's art is portrayed. Watteau was one of the greatest artists of the 18th century and a seminal figure in the development of the Rococo style. Though his career was cut tragically short, he pioneered an entirely new genre, the Tete Galante. So he was 16 plus 21. Oh gosh, he was very young. 35, I guess. No, 37. 37. He has created an ideal world from the enchanted visions of his own imagination. Gosh, that is beautiful. So much color. I love the color. I think that is insane. Wow. I'm not even going to attempt his name. Canaletto. No artist has captured the glorious views and magical spirit of Venice more effectively than Canaletto. His work was hugely popular in his time and has never fallen out of favor. I love that. His excellency lies in painting things which fall immediately under his eye. I know that just because they mentioned Venice, I'm just going to say that Venice is one of my favorite cities in the world. Like, it is just so breathtaking and so interesting, and there's so much history. And yes, there are moments when you kind of think, oh, this little area doesn't smell so great, but I feel like that so often that part of it, what people say that the city stinks, was very overrated. He surpasses all before him. His manner is clear, gay, lively, and in perspective with admirable detail. William Hogarth, an inventor of a new type of painting, the modern moral subject. Hogarth was not only a sharp-eyed observer and critic of contemporary society, but actively sought to raise the status of British art. I don't know. If I was an art critic, I'd have things to say. Chardin, largely self-taught, Chardin produced quiet, still lives and intimate genre scenes that won him a place at the elite French Royal Academy. His genius lay in capturing the beauty of everyday episodes. I love that. Look at that color and that detail. That is so sweet. I'm trying to get the glare off of it. Look at that. Isn't that wild? I must particularly try to imitate general masses, tones and color, roundness, effects of light and shade. Jean Honore Fragonard. Fragonard was the last great master of the Rococo style in France. His light-hearted and often erotic paintings epitomized the pampered lifestyles of a regime that was soon to be swept away. I love this. Sensuality. It is the very essence of the 18th century, its secret, its charm, and its soul. images he made at the Villa Este. He was content to shine in the boudoir and the closet. I kind of want to get to know this guy. John Singleton Copley. Copley was the finest American painter of the 18th century and one of the first to make his mark in Europe. There, he pioneered important new developments in the genre of history painting. I love a painting where you look at somebody and you think, oh my gosh, I feel like I know that person. That looks so like human and so like recognizable. I had that feeling when I saw that painting. Like, don't you feel like you've seen his face somewhere? We're gonna fast forward. Georgia O'Keeffe, a pioneer of modernism. O'Keeffe is best remembered for bringing together abstract and figurative elements in dazzling close-ups of flowers and in her powerful evocation of the American West. I love this. Oh, okay, so that's one of her paintings. I was expecting something different. René Magritte. Magritte was singularly individual artist who, by continually questioning the way we see images, sought to evoke the mystery of the world we inhabit, to make familiar unfamiliar. Interesting. I just think it's so wild how so many artists think about life and think about what they see and how they attempt to help us see the world in a different way. You know, sometimes they want us to see the world the way it is, like with reality, in reality, and sometimes they use their paintings to fight for justice, and sometimes they use their paintings to give us an escape, and I just find it really all very, very interesting.